I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're speaking with an amazing author. Her name is Lisa M. Cook. She has written a book called Codename Johnnie Walker Red. She has transformed a tumultuous chapter of her life into a testimony of resilience. As an educator and speaker in Massachusetts, she draws from her past, teaching young people about self-worth, resilience, and acceptance. We are delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put her in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like her by subscribing to our channel and purchasing her book, Codename Johnnie Walker Red. Lisa, thanks so much for joining us on Spotlight.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start with the title. It's such an intriguing title. Tell the folks at home what you mean,
Okay.
Codename Johnnie Walker Red.
That's funny that you asked me that because I get that question a lot.
I'm sure.
And people say, well, where did that title come from? But honestly speaking, that title came from the name that they gave me was actually my code name because at the time and for the task at hand at that time, I had never been out of the country. So not only did they need a physical description of what I was going to be wearing, what I look like, but just in case these people came to pick me up at the airport, they needed to make sure they were dealing with the right person. So I was instructed not to speak, that I could use gestures, but to not open my mouth to anybody until somebody said to me, Johnnie Walker Black. And I was to respond, Johnnie Walker Red. So it literally was my code name.
Interesting. Interesting.
Mhm.
So let's tell the folks at home a little bit more. We've kind of cut to the chase there with
Okay.
this
Sorry.
mysterious code name. Tell them about the trials you had as a younger woman and what led you into this life of being codename Johnnie Walker Red.
Oh my God. Okay. So I'm going to try to do this as specific yet quick as I can and make people
Sure.
get the gist of everything.
Yep.
I was 24 at the time. I was in school and I was working, but I lost my job. And I
Mhm.
had a 3-year-old daughter at the time. I was a single parent and I was deathly afraid of becoming homeless. That was such a big thing for me, being a failure, being homeless. And I ended up going to a friend of mine to help me out the situation. And that's how this whole thing came about.
Gotcha. And let's tell the folks a little bit more what you actually had to do to get by in that period of your life.
I didn't sell drugs, but my best friend did. We were really close, like brother and sister. So I had had a little money saved up in the 401k, and I asked him if he could help me out until I found another job, just so I wouldn't be put out of my place, so my daughter would stay in school. And that's when the proposition comes, and it's all in the book, by the way.
Yep.
It talks about everything how it works up to that point. But yeah, so he said, Lisa, you can make this amount of money. And honestly, I was in a desperate situation and I made a poor choice, Logan. That's what it is. I made a
Mm,
poor choice.
yeah. And
And the after effects is me speaking to you about it today.
yeah,
It wasn't pretty going through. It was horrible, but I'm
right.
kind of
Right. It was a
glad.
tough time in your life. We all have tough
Yes.
chapters in our life, and some of us have big problems to deal with. Others
Mm-hmm.
people have lesser problems to deal with. You had an issue where you felt you were going to be homeless. This was a way to make some money quickly. And how did you get out of the life? Tell us a
I
little bit
I
about
was
that.
never really in the life, if I could
Right.
say that respectfully. I was never in the life. Actually, I was never raised that way. My family, my brothers, my parents, they never raised us that way. We were not in and out of jail or had anger issues, all this other nonsense. It wasn't like that. For me personally, because I was never in that life, I just knew somebody who I was close to that was. So I
Right.
looked for him to help. So I never had to really get out per se because I was never really in it. It
Right.
was just, that's why I'm saying I was so naive at the time. I made a really terrible decision and it haunted me for years and years and years, up until the last maybe decade or 15 years. It haunted me,
Yeah.
the embarrassment of it all, everything. So yeah, how did I get out of that particular situation though?
Mhm.
Was because I believe in a higher power. Nobody can tell me anything differently. And that's actually what the book was about. It
Mhm.
brought me to a place of realizing this was just not some fluke that people talk about. I saw it for myself. I experienced it firsthand. It was too many weird, bizarre things that happened that I still came out on top, even though I suffered and I struggled while I was there.
Yeah.
I still came out on top, and it was a blessing. So,
Mhm.
okay, oh God.
Yeah, I know it's a lot to talk about, that's for sure. Why did you decide to put it down on paper? Why did you decide to tell your story?
Logan, if I tell you this thing haunted me for years,
Mhm.
literally after it happened, it was not a day that went by that I didn't think about this. And I kept reflecting on what had happened.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard, I know, and you do
Because I
have a
almost
lot of
lost my life.
remorse. Yeah, you do
I
have a
almost
lot of
lost my
remorse,
life.
but the good news is you've turned it all around,
Yes, I did.
and the fact that you had troubling times
Hmm.
has made you a better mentor to young people who are
Absolutely.
who are also facing tough times today. So tell us a little bit about your work right now.
I am currently a teacher. I work for Kylie Academy
Mhm.
Middle School. I work with children who are autistic. I've been a teacher and educator for years. I've also been a counselor. So I always work with either young adults or children who have all kind of challenges. Um, and I've been doing it for a long time, actually, since I was about 27.
Yeah,
So that's what I do today. But I didn't have this thing happen and just become this miserable person.
right.
I knew I needed to go back to school, so I did. I went back to school and I obtained my BS in Human Services at Springfield College, and then I went back a couple years later and obtained my master's in education. And so, basically, all these things that I do today, I live to try to make people happy. I
Mm.
want to be happy. But when I see other people happy and when I know I have had something even a little bit to do with that, I mean, who wouldn't be happy with that? Wouldn't that
Yeah,
really make life so much more uh, livable and
yeah,
happier knowing that you just put a smile on somebody's heart and on somebody's life, even with
absolutely.
your story?
Yeah, absolutely. What do you consider the turning point in your journey towards self-acceptance and redemption?
That whole experience,
Yeah,
that whole experience is what it took for me to really look at life again and say, when people speak about higher powers, higher beings. I was into it, but not really so much. I never really gave any great time to it. It was just like, okay, if you pray after you eat or before you eat, it was like one, two, three, and that's it.
right.
That was the turning point for me. Honest to goodness, that was the turning point for me in which I really saw the goodness, the mercy, the grace, and the forgiveness. Not just me being forgiven, but me forgiving myself for the horrible thing that I had done and the
Mm.
problems I caused with my family and my daughter in doing it.
Yeah,
So that was my turning point. And honestly, I want people to know this too. This is not like this situation happened and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, look at the revelation. I came out of it. No, it's not that
right.
at all. This came in hindsight. This is years later, and you start to look back on the crazy things you've done, and you start to put pieces together, and you say, you know what? That was sick, but
Right.
I have redeemed myself. I have, and I'm still doing. I'm still evolving. I just want you to know that I'm still evolving, still trying to put my best foot forward in everything I do. I don't always make the cut, but it's okay. I try.
Yeah.
I try all the time. So, and then I was talking to somebody about 2 weeks ago, and I said, "What would the world?" Or a week ago, what would the world be like if everybody looked at something horrible that they've done in their past and really took that to become a better person? But this sounds so corny and cliche, I know, but I'm really serious. Like they took that and they really started to make progress within themselves,
Yeah.
within the world, one person at a time. What would the world really be like?
Yeah.
That was the whole gist of this. I couldn't let it go because it was so crazy, all the crazy things that happened in it. And I just was like, there's a reason for this. And I couldn't contain it anymore, Logan, is what
Right.
happened. I had to let it out, tell people, hey, this thing really happened. I was really embarrassed at first
Yeah.
because I was scared people would think, oh my God, she's teaching my kid. She's
Mm.
a criminal. And actually, guess what? I really was. I was a criminal in
Right.
that moment.
Well, we're all works in progress. I mean,
Right.
that's what it comes down to. I
Right.
mean,
I'm glad you
all
said
of
that.
us, and like I said, some people have big challenges in life. Some people have small challenges in life. Some people are born with money that they don't have to make choices that other
That's
people
right.
have to make, and they're forced into it on some level. So there's a lot of understanding and empathy and compassion that has to be put into the reading of a book like this. You have to realize that a single mother, just like a mama bear, will do anything to protect that cub, even if at the moment she's doing something that is quote unquote wrong.
Right.
She's doing it for the greater good.
Right.
And so I think people do understand that. What are you hoping people take away from the book?
Well, it would be kind of like what I mentioned earlier. just looking at it and not holding themselves prisoner to their past.
Yeah.
For other people to not look at them like that, but to look at people and just respect them for being people and allow everybody their journey. That's my whole thing. Allow people their journey, and you don't have to be a prisoner to your past. I wasn't, and I don't want other people to feel like they have to be a prisoner to their past either.
Right.
And
Well,
you can always turn it around.
you still seem to have so much remorse over that chapter in your life. When do
I
you
do.
fully forgive yourself and just let it go and forget about it?
I have for the most part,
Yeah.
but honestly, there are those moments, and I say, boy, I wish I would have done things differently.
Right.
And then there's those moments where you say, you know what, I'm glad I did it.
Right.
Although during that time and going through it, it was very difficult because I didn't know. I mean, they were talking about giving me years in prison. In the book, I put 2, but really, it was 10 years they were trying to give me.
Frightening.
10 years in prison, and it never
Right.
happened. It
Right.
never happened, but I dealt with a lot of stuff, kind of like in the meantime, waiting
Right.
for the court case to really see where it was going to go. So it was a miserable experience. I had lost a lot of weight, just stressed out over who
Yeah.
was going to take care of my child, what was going to happen to me, what was going to happen to my family. Were they going to try to kill me because I never made good on what I was supposed to do because I got popped over there? You
Right.
know what I'm saying? So it's like I forgive myself. I have forgiven myself. I would say 99.9%, but there's
Hmm.
still always that little piece where you say, I wish I hadn't done that because my poor daughter went through it when I came back.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, the book's out there now. What about your daughter reading it? Are you okay with that and all that?
I talked to her about it years ago.
Hmm.
And I told her at some point I wanted to put it in a book. And oh God, I'm so sorry.
I know. Oh, don't be. It's a lot to talk about.
It
And
is.
I'll just remind the folks at home that the name of the book is called Codename Johnnie Walker Red. It is written by Lisa Cook. It details her life on the wrong side of the law for a small chapter of her life, but it's a part of her life that had, in many ways, transformed the rest of her life into a life of service, a life of an
Exactly.
educator, and a life of a mentor. And that's for sure. It's a
Yes.
compelling read. It's a book that'll help you understand why people sometimes make the wrong choice. And we all make the wrong choice at one point in our lives, whether it's criminal or whatever, morally, ethically, we don't
That's right.
always make the right choices. That's just part of being a human being. I think that you're a person of faith. I think that's the point of Jesus's life is redemption,
That's
right?
right.
That's the whole message
I'm
there.
so
That
glad you said that.
yeah, yeah.
I really am.
Every story is a redemption story, really.
Right.
When it comes down to it, is like, how do we get from this point A to point B when point A was horrible? And Jesus overcame death and
Right.
showed us that. And because of that, we all have the promise of eternal life. Before we leave you today, anything you want
Yes.
to add, Lisa?
Just one other thing. Well, 2 other
Sure.
things. The first one is if anybody is interested in going to, I have a website.
Hmm.
It's Lisa M. Cook
Hmm.
Journey.com. Also, if anybody's interested in purchasing the book, they can go straight to Amazon. I have an author's page on Amazon, or you could just order it directly through Amazon if you like. The other thing was, aside from that, when I was working for Job Corps, there was a 24-year-old girl who came to me because our director had ordered a whole bunch of books to put in the library
Mm.
for the kids to read. And I was on my way going home, and she stopped me. She said, Miss, I have to tell you, I read your book. And she said, I swear it inspired me. I almost started crying.
Yeah.
She said it inspired me because I feel like all the stuff that I've dealt with, just reading that.
That's great. That's great. It's great that you had that impact on people. And I know you say you're forgiving yourself 99.7%. Find that other 0.3%.
Right.
You're deserving of it. Okay. Well,
Thank you.
God bless you. Such a great time talking to you
Thank you so
today.
much.
It's a true pleasure, true honor. The name of the book is Codename Johnnie Walker Red. It is written by Lisa M. Cook. The links are below this interview. You can just click them and order the book. You'll learn a lot about Lisa's story, but you'll also, understand your own journey a little bit better as well. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today on Spotlight.
Thank you for having me, Logan. I appreciate it so much.
My pleasure. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time. on Spotlight.